Hi, my name is Andy and I'm the founder of the Angel Investing School. Over the last 6 years, I've invested in over 17 startups, so you could say I know a little bit about startups and investing. So today, what I want to cover is how to draft your first investment thesis. And don't worry, I'm going to say this in really simple English so you understand exactly how you can take action on what you hear today. So firstly, let's define what an investment thesis is and why it matters. An investment thesis is your investing roadmap. It's your guiding principles on what you're going to invest in, and equally important, what you're not going to focus on. And the reason that's important is because as an angel investor, you're actually in the business of saying no. That's right, you're actually in the business of saying no. Because you're going to say no to over 90% of the pitch decks and founders that come across your table. So you need to become really structured and really focused actually on what I'm invested in and why. So for example, I may have had a 20-year career in the financial services industry, and therefore I have some expertise as well as knowledge and network within that sector. So therefore I may be strategically focusing on investing in that sector, right? So that is what will maybe motivate me to focus my thesis on that investment in that sector. So now let's go through the criteria that makes up your investment thesis. So I'll start with actually how much money have you set aside to invest over the next 12 months. So in essence, what is your angel investing budget? And I'll think about that in terms of building a portfolio rather than a single investment. So if I want to invest into 10 startups over the next 12 to 24 months and I've got £10,000, then guess what? I can put £1,000 per startup. It's good to be honest and upfront with yourself so that you can be disciplined as to how much you invest. Because one of the biggest mistakes that new angels make is they invest more than they can afford to lose into their first few deals out of excitement. You know how it is when you get excited about something. The second thing I'll look at is geography. Where am I going to focus? Am I going to invest only in the UK and maybe benefit from the tax relief? You should definitely check out our video on tax relief. Am I going to invest in the whole of Europe and look into Germany and Paris and France and other countries? Am I going to look into emerging markets like Africa or Asia? Or am I going to look further afield in the US? And my adage or piece of advice here is focus on where your network and expertise is, right? Because it's going to take time to build up those local networks in those other markets. Plus you get a tax incentive if you're in the UK with SEIS and EIS. The next layer down is to really think about what industries or sectors really interest me. Is it healthcare? Is it financial services? Is it advertising and media? Really concentrate on what sectors really matter to you. There may be certain causes close to your heart, like climate change, and therefore that's the industry that you're really focused on too. And then think about, is there certain type of business models that you favor? Do I prefer B2C, like a Snapchat or Instagram, which is business to consumer? Or do I prefer something that's more B2B, like Notion, or one of these softwares that sell into other businesses, like Microsoft does with Outlook and all of its services? So you need to really decide what type of business models make more sense for me, and it could be a mixture of the two, which is okay. The next layer down, once you've decided how much you want to invest, what geographies you want to invest in, what type of industries and sectors matter most to you, and what business models are really in favor to you, then you want to try and look at what stage you want to invest at. For a lot of angel investors starting out, you're going to look at the really early stages. Some people call that pre-seed. So that's when a founder has an initial idea, maybe has their pitch deck, and maybe has initial customers, or maybe just at the idea stage. And that's why it's really risky, because it's so early, right? The later stage that you go, the more you have to invest. If I invest into founders that have already raised £1 million or more, guess what? They're looking to raise even more money in their next round. So can I afford to play at that level and at that stage? And that's the kind of question that you want to ask yourself. And then the final question you want to ask is, actually, how can I be useful? What is my expertise? And I don't just mean the job roles that you've done in the past, right? It might be that you have a certain awareness of how corporates work. So you can really help a B2B startup in breaking into selling to a corporate because you understand how they buy from startups and from other vendors. It might be that actually you have certain expertise in terms of geographical focus. You may have done a lot of work in South Africa, Nigeria, and in Ghana. So actually have a really big focus on the African market, and that's part of the value that you can add. Or for me, for example, one of my value adds is that I can introduce people to other investors. So I can help them close their funding round. So that's part of the value that I add when I invest into a startup. So we've walked through your investment thesis, and I've mentioned a lot of things. But don't worry, we've created a worksheet for you, a one-page worksheet that walks through all of the criteria that I've mentioned. Your stage, the amount that you invest, your geography, the type of business, So we've made it really easy for you to fill out this worksheet, get it out of your head, get it down onto paper, and for you to have your first investment thesis to guide your first investment into a startup. So go and check out that worksheet, download it now, and work through it, and let us know how you get on.